for sure, we haven't packed them.
Come on, Kyle. I should be starting by now. All right, let's call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? No, and I would seek approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will open up for visitors to be heard. If there's anyone that would like to speak, can step up, name and address. And realistically, Gene, if you wanna wait, you can just wait until we get to new business and I'll just let you hop up then, just so we don't have to jump around.
Perfect,
That work for you?
it works for me.
Alright. Then we'll just go to the minutes from the last meeting. Everything look good?
Motion to approve the minutes. A second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Kyle?
Construction update, we got 14 new permits this year. 6 of them are new construction, single-family homes. And we got 1 commercial project, which is a roof replacement. So far compared to last year, we're kind of starting off a little stronger. I don't think we really had any new construction permits at this time. Couple twin home. Any questions on the building side?
Nope.
And code enforcement update, I just had parking on grass for violations.
Anything else about Kyle? We will move on to new business, the preliminary plan for the Cooper addition. Kyle?
So the city of Lennox has received an application for a preliminary plan for the extension of an existing industrial park named the Cooper Addition. Preliminary plan is a result of years of discussion on the property. Property is currently in crop production, but is already annexed into the municipal boundary and zoned A1 agricultural. Over the years, we have had several interested parties, but without the planning development, little progress has been made. The owners have now taken the decision to create a preliminary plan, which is the first step in the development process. Several steps remain, including the sale of the land, engineering submittals, development, and construction agreements, etc. This is not likely to take place until an industrial prospect is engaged. Plan has been reviewed by the city engineer and city administrator and meets the requirements for this step of the planning process. I've included a copy of the city's adopted subdivision regs and design standards for your reference if necessary. Following your review tonight and your assumed approval, it will be placed on city council agenda for consideration on March 9th. Motion to recommend approval of the city council.
Okay. Now, Gene, if you wanna hop up and say anything, you're welcome to.
Alright, so I'm Gene Cooper and part of the Cooper Addition down there. And I live in Montgomery, Texas, and I came up here to be at your meeting tonight. So here we are. Have you all got a copy of the thing? Have you all looked at it?
Yep.
Is there anything on there that you don't like or see that looks kind of funny?
Gene?
I guess I was wondering on the temporary retention, if the city would take that over temporarily while that's in place, or if that's something that would be the responsibility of the.
That's the proposal.
within the plan. So just to maybe back up a little bit, Gene's hired an engineer, Aaron Norman, to put together this plan and help them meet the city standards. And so that is one of the proposals, is that the detention facility would be constructed by them and then given to the city to maintain once, for the city to accept. And that's pretty common practice in larger subdivisions like this.
Well, I guess I would just start to say I have some concerns about Lennox and any new business that wants to come to Lennox. Really have no place to be. If they want to come to Lennox and have a business, there's no place for them to be. All right, it's been that way for a long time. Even a restaurant, can't get a restaurant in town unless you kick somebody else out. And we all know we have the senior center turn into the senior center, and they're just, and you bend over backwards to get them in there, even on top of that, which is fine. It's a great restaurant, I like to go there. But I'm just saying, you've had the best property for any development for 8-10 years already. It's annexed into the city. I would like to unannex it if I could, but it's too late, probably. But no, it's a problem. You don't have any place to put a business except really over there, and there has been no attempt, I don't think, to to make it feasible for a small business to go in there. If you're a multi-million-dollar business, yeah, you can probably do a lot of development. But if you're a small business, you can't put the water and the sewer and the infrastructure to the property and then try to buy the property and then try to develop your business. It's just not conducive to business at all, especially small business, which I don't know, have any of you ever started a business, your own business? It's not easy. So you know what I'm talking about. In this particular case, the engineers and the city policies now are, I don't know if you've looked at any of these drawings, but extending to the end of your property when you put water and sewer line in case there's, when somebody wants to extend into, to the next property, and you didn't do that. You brought water down to the lift station on Main Street, and it's in the middle of that block, and you stopped. And now you have a lift station, just like there's no extension ever going to be to the south. And you put a whole lift station there, but you didn't go to the end of my property, or you're up to my property so that somebody could go on to it. The same thing with water. And then you expect, to be looped for the fire code. I understand that. Yeah. I put in, water and sewer myself at a construction company. But, the water comes down to Oriole Avenue, and then it has to be brought all the way to the Cooper property. Somebody's got to do that, and a small business can't do that. So if you want a small business in town, I'm just saying it's not feasible to even come into town because there's no place to be. They can't brush their teeth or wash their hands, because there's no water, no sewer. And I think that's a problem that you need to address, I would hope. Because I'd like to see, kind of trying to have business myself in town. And it's not easy. But one thing that really concerns me about this plan is this 20,000 square foot lot that is supposed to be put on here. And if you can see the plan, there's a lot 20 foot wide. I don't know how long it would be, maybe 1,000 feet, I guess. 20,000 square feet, so 20 feet wide, 1,000 feet. And if you see that, it's between lot 2 and lot 3 on block 2 there. There's a lot there. It's 20 feet wide and 1,000 feet long. And it has to be for a sidewalk. Okay? Now, I don't know, would any of you be interested in buying that lot? If we get this plan, would you be interested in buying that? Knowing that you have to put a sidewalk out there, okay? It's, you know, so as far as I'm concerned, it's designed that we're supposed to give this land to the city, donate to the city, that someday they may put a sidewalk in there, and then they gotta maintain it, and scoop the snow, and, you know, mow the grass, just like anybody else. But I mean, in an industrial park. So what's an industrial park? Why is it an industrial park? Because it's industrial park because it's for nuisance businesses, you know. It's noisy, there can be smoke, there can be battery acid, there's trucks. You know, this is a nuisance area that is an industrial park. It's not a park, okay? And I just, I got some concerns that, you know, trying to make this into a park and have people walking through it is just, doesn't make sense to me. And I'm concerned about that, you know, maybe, you know, it's kind of pie in the sky to me, you know. Because I don't think anybody really wants to walk around what we have out there now. I got some pictures if you'd like to see it, but take a ride up and down Industrial Avenue or Oriole Avenue or whatever. The roads are all torn up. You know, you know, they're infringing on the roadway, you know, with their product, and that's fine. This is where work gets done, right? I mean, that's what industrial park is for work. It's not to have bicycles and lollipops and rainbows and all that other stuff, you know. So anyway, on this plan, instead of having that 20,000-foot lot there, 20 feet wide and 1,000 foot wide long, that nobody can use, obviously, it's designed to be a loss, basically, to us. I would propose that we just go ahead and get rid of lot 2 and 3 and just make it one lot. Just make it one lot, and get rid of that. And if somebody, someday, you want to buy that lot, if you want to put restrictions on them, go ahead. But that is probably the worst item on this plan.
I don't know what it's for, but if I was gonna guess, I would guess it's probably a future path. So let's just say west of your land, somebody developed that into apartments. And there was people that worked over here
Yeah.
and they wanted to ride their bike to work. There would be no way to get their bike to work without going all the way up to either 44 or down to 280th and riding on a blacktop or a highway. So that's just, and I don't know this because
Yeah.
I wasn't part of any of this.
Well,
That's just my guess.
Yeah.
Because all this other stuff is kind of,
That's kind of what I was gonna say, let's just make that one lot. Because if it is one business, you're not gonna walk through this person's business. He's gonna have chain link fence probably along there. You don't want people walking through the middle of his. So I mean, I'm just saying, that would be one way to, and if somebody wants to divide it, and you wanna put a sidewalk in there, well, then you guys have the capability to do that. That's fine with me. But I'm just saying, to me, this is just a ridiculous, sorry, no offense, but it just doesn't make sense to be wandering around out there. Because I don't see people walking around out there now, you know, enjoying the weather. You know, so.
you would be surprised how many people walk to work at either Sioux Steel or Wilson. I don't know where they work, but I live on Main Street and there's a fair amount of people that I see morning and night walking
Yeah.
or riding bike to and from work. You know, so
I agree with
you might
that.
not think it's a big deal, but to some people it is a big deal to have a way to.
It's funny
Get
you
to
say that because instead of having Main Street curve around like it's on this plan,
You know,
I initially wanted it to go straight and then just have the west of that be residential, multifamily right by the high school there in South End, so people could go to school and they could go to work just like we're talking about. They wouldn't have to cross 17 or 44 and they could
Yeah.
live right there, go to work. And I was told by Nate that, and I don't want to mention names, but Nate told me that, well, people don't walk anymore, so they don't walk. Now, on the other side of the street, I had to put $8,000 of safe passage in sidewalk where the General Dollar store is. I had to put $8,000 to save passage so they could walk to school. But on the other side of the road, they won't walk to school. You know, so I'm getting mixed messages, you know, and stuff like that. But anyway, that's the plan, and I don't agree with a lot of it, and it still is not filed. And I would ask to consider just making getting rid of that one lot there is just really bothersome to me. But just make lot 2 and 3 lot 2, and just renumber the next 2 or couple. But and then I think we need to consider some way to get infrastructure to the property, so small business can actually hook up to water and sewer without having to go 1,000 feet of, infrastructure. I just think that we've been neglectful on that.
Which utilities are you talking about?
Well, see, there's no water and sewer, even though I'm paying $4,400 for special taxes for water and sewer. There's no water and sewer there, but that's what the tax is for special assessments this year.
I think that's, your drainage fee.
Yeah, but anyway, there's no water to the property. It stops at the high school, basically, and I think the lift
Yeah.
station is where the sewer stops on Main Street. So, there's like 900 feet that somebody's got to put infrastructure in there. And then on the east side along 17, they went all the way from Memorial Avenue to the property. Water main put in because of, and that's a fire code thing for loop, so they have that. I understand that. I put in water and sewer before, so. But I'm just saying, a small business just has no place to go in Lennox. And I just feel like it's been there 8-10 years, and I've got people right now that want to buy, put $1 million business in there. She has a trucking company, and she does fresh fruit, vegetables with refrigerated trucks. She's gonna put Doc's $1 million building in there. Can't do it.
She can't do it because.
She can't do it because there's no water, no sewer.
She wants to put it in your
Yeah.
development plan? Yeah.
She's been wanting to do this for probably almost a year now.
Mhm.
But I can't get, she can't afford to put all that in. I don't want to be a developer. I don't want to do that. But I just feel like the city should, being something annexing with the city, they should provide services to our property so that we could hook up to it. Then that would work.
At least up to the property. you're
Yeah,
saying.
just up to the property. I'm not asking you to do anything on our property, because I understand that's, part of the development thing. But I just can't ask anybody to put in, $180,000 of infrastructure before we can even start. So I'll just throw that out, excuse me, I'll just throw that out there as something I hope we can.
And I think, so that particular topic is not meant to be
No.
part of this.
Yeah, we're basically here to, if we think these are good, we
Yeah.
can send it on to
So-
council.
so
The
yeah,
water,
so-
the utilities and stuff, that's a council thing, so.
And the plan is really a planning document to illustrate where the water has to come from, where the sewer has to come from. And there's still an opportunity if the city wanted to enter a developer agreement with you to extend some of those, there's still that opportunity. This isn't obligating you in any capacity to have to build those facilities. Whether the city has the funds sitting aside and is able to do that or wants to take that project on is a whole nother question, and that's not what we're here to answer.
Yeah.
Again, it's really just to illustrate where water needs to come from, and it does need to start at Oriole, because that's where it's left off, and it needs to be extended probably along that main avenue route and along the highway so that we can get a good loop established here, so that whatever business does land in here has reliable water service. And that's what the plan is conveying. So if you're looking at sheet 10, you can see the north half of the subdivision. And you can see the blue line that follows the highway. That's meant to tie into Oriole, and same with the blue and the green line going north along the Main Street line, that's tying into that system up there.
But the one on the highway is existing?
The one on the highway is not there yet.
Okay,
That would have to be constructed at some point.
gotcha.
Well, if, you know, I've got this gal that's interested in this business, and if we can't get it set up, she'd be the third one that wanted to come in to Lennox to put, you know, there was a meat producer, there was, some other, canning company, I think, some canning company or something like that. And then, you know, now and if, let's just say, this would be the third time that, you know, if you wanna have business, basically you get turned away because, no, they're not interested in you, so.
Well, I think this is the first step. I mean, I think it's a preliminary plan, so, I mean, obviously, there's nothing set in stone. I mean, this is the first step of all of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, it's an investment for you. It's an investment, obviously, getting this started and getting the utilities to and throughout it. And I mean, Nate, Mitch, I mean, the city, they want development here. I mean, it's been talked about. I mean, that meatpacking plant when they were planning on coming. I mean, there was a lot of opportunity there for Main Street to get extended and for all the infrastructure to go into. I mean, that's, in the past, I don't know a lot of details about it. That's kind of all I really knew, but I mean, there's drama with it, but I think there's a lot of, I mean, this is exciting. It's great to see potential development, especially industrial, because not everybody wants to have an industrial business or even a large business just in Sioux Falls. I mean, there's opportunity here. And so and that's been one of the things with Lennox for a while, is getting infrastructure to some of these locations. When we went through the 2040 comprehensive plan, we were trying to we were talking about how we get infrastructure to some of these locations. And I mean, you look at the city's capital improvements plan, there is a plan for this loop line along the highway. It's in the capital improvements plan. There's no time when it's gonna be done, but it's planned. I mean, this is part of it, is getting those things there. And I mean, I'm not in day-to-day conversations, but I mean, Nate and the city want this to come. I mean, I think they're gonna do what they can to help you.
Well, you know, you're the bosses, right? I mean, they work for you, right? Supposed to be, anyway. So, you know, you have the last call on how it works, so I just hope you guys, you know, do the best you can to get that going, because, like I say, there's well, especially a small business, you know, even $1 million business really can't even come in here because it's too expensive to get started, you know. Okay?
If you don't mind, I'd like to just walk through.
Yeah, if you wanna
do that, give you a broad strokes here.
You can sit down.
Thank you.
I got questions, but if you hit them on your broad stroke, then we.
Oh, yeah. So again, if you go through the design standards that we have, made for you guys, there's a section on submittals, and it goes through a preliminary plan, what's required to be within that preliminary plan. So we review it against that to make sure that everything's compiled in here, and we've had some back and forth with their engineer to make sure it's getting to that point. So if you open the page, sheet 2, this is gonna have some just general notes on the subdivision, and this is gonna answer probably that one particular question you had about just who's gonna maintain these facilities. And in general, the streets that would get built, the detention facilities, the storm sewers, the pipes that will get turned over to the city for maintenance, as long as they meet the city's standards.
Yeah, my question was more around the temporary one for phase
Okay.
1.
Any temporary ones, we would tend to let those remain private until and privately maintained until they can be consolidated wherever they want, so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can see there's some supplemental provisions, and they're acknowledging there that they're gonna follow the city standards. There's nothing real surprising there. Expectations for city reimbursement. There is that water main, probably along the highway that we would, you know, if the developer ended up putting it in, we'd probably have them upsize it, and there might be a reimbursement there that would take place. That's acknowledging that. Number 3 is what we already talked about. Wetlands, there's really no wetlands identified on this project. They had a delineator go out there and they didn't find any, so it's a good piece of ground that way. There's no floodplain on the property, so it's free and clear of that. intentions for open space. The city has a requirement ordinance that a developer of any subdivision has to set aside 5% of the land for open space for recreation. So they've acknowledged here that they're meeting that obligation in this plan. Fire protection is number 7. Subdivision will comply with international fire code. Then they have a phasing plan within. Going to page 3, you can see the typical sections of the roadways that they're planning. These are all this is industrial use. We have standards for industrial roads. So what we call a local industrial road is the top section there. So it's a 70-foot right-of-way. It's a 41-foot wide street, so it's a little bit oversized than your typical residential street, just because we expect there to be trucks along there. We still want to be able to park along those roads. If you look at the main street that we rebuilt, that's 41 foot. When we're gonna rebuild Oriole this summer, that's gonna be 41 foot as well. So it'll be the same type of street out there. Although these will probably be in asphalt rather than concrete.
Is side, I mean, does Oriole have sidewalk?
It will, and it doesn't now, but when we rebuild it this summer, it's gonna be rebuilt with sidewalks on both sides.
One thing just on that 6 inches of asphalt, is it in the ordinances or the regulations to do like 3 lifts of that instead of 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so this can be required to do 2, 3.
Yeah, I noticed that too, just late here, and yeah, it should be 3 lifts of 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Main Street is the street that's on the west. We are proposing, and the reason why we're proposing to veer it to the west is there's been a desire from the school to try to carve out that area so it's not in an industrial area so much. And if we can keep this industrial use isolated a little bit, we're hoping that it can kind of open that up for the school so it doesn't feel like they're in the middle of an industrial park. And where there's not so many trucks coming down Main Street and whatnot.
You're talking about the turning of Main, or what
Yeah.
you're referring to?
Yeah. And it's you can't really see it, but it's in the comp plan.
Yeah.
And we discussed it there, and so this is conforming to that desire to sweep that over. And what it does really is opens up this quarter to do more industrial than if you were to run it straight through. And so that section on that page is Main Street, that's a collector road, it's a little narrower, just a couple feet narrower, and it's a 39-foot back-to-back road, still a 70-foot right-of-way. The next page, sheet 4, is just existing conditions. Again, this piece of property doesn't have much in the way of it. It generally drains from north to south. So that's why that detention facility is down in that southwest corner, because that's where it tends to drain. Sheet 5 is gonna be your land use layout. Again, it's all industrial use. You can see the lot and block layout and some notes that pertain to it. Just to kind of round out the conversation about the sidewalks, it is for what you suggested, connectivity to Main Street. We want to, and whether that strip, that 20-foot strip is here where they're showing it, or if it's further north, and there's flexibility in that. We just want to see that there is connectivity planned at this stage.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, like you said, this is preliminary, and they could always shift things around a little bit and somehow
Yep.
weasel it into the greenway
Yep.
and, just make it all in one spot instead of 2 separate
Yep.
spots.
There's different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
And that might change and it might be a whole other developer someday that comes in and has different ideas on
Yeah.
how to create that connectivity too.
The sidewalks are gonna be 5 feet instead of 6 feet, you said.
Yeah, so sidewalks on local streets, minimum is 5 foot. I think that section somewhere it says 6 feet, but it doesn't need to be 6 feet. 5 feet is our minimum. Let's see. Going to sheet 6 is a lot layout, so it's just a little bit more to scale, zoomed in on this area. The greenway that you see on the left side, that's being put in easement. that's part of your comp plan. We feel that we need a good buffer, since this is meant to be industrial, we wanna have a really good buffer there, cause there is likely gonna be homes on the other side. And the more we can buffer that from industrial, the better, especially since there's not gonna be any type of multifamily buffering or anything of that sort of thing. So we really like how that's turning out, cause that'll work really well. And there has to be some drainage that follows there too, so even that'll help really separate the two from them.
So everything runs to that greenway from this property?
Generally, yeah. At some point, some of it goes east to the highway ditch.
So, just so I understand, the intent with this project is to do spruce, Dakota, willow, basically everything kind of on the middle to the east, and then also that south Main Street 70-foot right of way is partially gonna be built?
Yeah, and I would expect like the perimeter, a lot of times, say someone was developing this all in one go, one developer, would probably do a TIF district of some sort, and the TIF would probably help pay for Main Street on the perimeter stuff. Maybe some of these utility extensions that Gene's mentioning. That's what I would see, because I don't expect that the developer would build that, because it would just get too costly. He really needs some help with.
I was gonna say, it wouldn't benefit him really at all.
Right, yeah.
No benefit to his property.
Those are hard to put on the developer, and that's where a TIF would really help a lot. Even if there's improvements to that south highway, if we get enough trucks coming in and out of there, that highway could use some improving, and that's a county road anymore, and they might not be able to improve it to the standard that we need it to. So a TIF could help improve that road too. Going to sheet 8 is going to start the drainage plan. And at this stage, they're just making their best guess on how things are going to drain. They're just putting some arrows on there where they think they'll kind of direct things, and drawing some preliminary line work for the storm sewer system. So you can see a lot of the streets are going to be served by an underground piping system. There's really not a lot to point out there, but the drainage facility, the detention pond, will be this lot 4 that's in the green. That's where we can start kind of encouraging a greenway through there as well. Sheet 10 is the start of the utility plan. Here's where you can see the sanitary sewer layouts and the water layouts. Water's pretty straightforward. We got a connected Oriole, expand everything into the streets, have a perimeter water main system. The sewer generally will be collected into a lift station that's down in the southwest corner. Okay, that's the kind of this full build out would. So if you were building this lower quarter, you guys probably going to start with this lift station and start in this lower corner and build it out. Now that we had them shift where they proposed this lift station a little bit because they had it more in this greenway space. We do have plans to run a trunk line system past here someday, and probably a lift station a little bit further downstream in the bottom of that, more towards that draw where Long Creek comes through. So for them to put it where they're showing it, it really coordinates well with that, where if we do that project, then they're right in line with that project in the future. But more than likely, if that lift station's in that bottom end, that'll be a lift station that'll force it all the way back to the plant. Okay, then.
So the plan right now though is spruce, like for phase 1, that would go in. Basically spruce would be able to be put in, and it would still be able to drain north to
Yeah.
the existing lift
That's
station.
kind of the plan, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
Sheet 12 is just the light plan, street lights. Sheet 14 is access plan, and this is going to start spelling out some of the widths of the roads, some of the sidewalks out there. This is where there's a misprint. The 6-foot sidewalks can be 5-foot sidewalks. With the exception of Main Street, that would be a 6-foot sidewalk over there.
Is there any intention to loop the lighting through that 20-foot
I guess we didn't think about that, but if we did have a walking path there, you'd probably want some lighting there someday. Um, Then the last sheet is the phasing plan, and that's where, they've got some notes here on what phase one would entail, and that, the goal, desire right now is to develop lots 1 and 2, which would require building Spruce Avenue out. I had a conversation with the engineer, we just, at some point, the lift station that we do maintain in Industrial Park just north of here should get abandoned and everything should drain to this new lift station that will go in downstream. And so we don't wanna block ourselves off from that. So we really, the first rendering of this plan had a portion of Dakota Street, I guess, getting built with those lots and trying to open up these 4 lots. And we need to probably discourage that because that sewer needs to drain south rather than north, or else we'll be relaying pipe underneath the street someday that will get expensive. So, the first phase really needs to remain this lot 1 and lot 2. We can tackle Spruce Avenue and drain those 2 lots back to the existing lift station just to get them sewer today. But when the rest of it develops and that lift station goes in, then the goal will be to redirect that wastewater towards that new lift station. And that's kind of what this phasing plan spells out.
So is that current one undersized or?
Yeah, it's definitely undersized to be able to handle all of this, and it's downstream of it too far. So they could maybe get these lot 3 and 4 to drain that way, but at some point they lose grade.
It's like if that lift station got abandoned, that would get abandoned someday once you do the trunk line, is that what the intention is, or?
It would probably be when someone comes to develop this, the rest of this, if you're starting to look at like lot 2, or this block 3 area, right? Or this block 2 for that matter, that has to get served by a lift station. So, if you were developing this whole quarter, I really think a developer would put the lift station in first and probably develop lot 2 of block 3 almost first, because it's on 2 sides of the highway. It's got oil road still that you can come off of. And you'd see it develop from south to north, just because that's generally where the sewer wants to
low
go.
end,
Yeah. Yep. They can get these 2 north lots done with the lift station that's there, and it's got some capacity, it can handle those couple lots. But after that, then it really needs to go to the south like they're proposing.
Where's that future lift station, where does that pump to? Or, like, obviously it pumps the treatment plant, but like, how does it get
We'd
there?
like to go, this is all just lines on the map at this point, right? We'd like it to go up that Long Creek, the pasture ground that kind of butts Long Creek, that, we can follow that all the way up to the wastewater plant. So,
But that'd be a city-driven project.
yeah.
That would have to be basically in conjunction with this.
Yeah, it depends on who comes first, right? They could put a lift station in and pump it to, wherever they need to, but we'd rather see probably the city do a larger project, so we don't have to repeat a lift station, and it just wouldn't make any sense for them to build a lift station, and then years down the road, the city build another one.
Exactly.
And so, we're talking quite a bit about that, we've got some plans and thoughts on how to do that, when to do it, but it kind of hinges on a lot of different things, I guess. There's some other areas in town where you could do a lift station and open up some ground too. So I know Nate's kind of looking into all those options.
It's a big decision, like, you
Yeah.
just gotta make sure you do it right the first time,
Yeah.
like you said, so you don't spend a bunch of money and then 5 years down the road have to spend a bunch of money again to
Right.
redo everything.
Yep.
But I think all this looks pretty good as far as a starting point to get things rolling.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch, and I don't know if Nate's still on, but thank you for just
Yeah.
having the forethought. That's where the comprehensive plan comes into play, is I mean, obviously it's Lennox, but it's not like we've got a massive influx of tax dollars to, I mean, do a lot of this infrastructure to get it to these 8 places, but I mean, it's trying to do as much as we can with as little as we have. So, thank you for just anticipating and planning for those things, so there's no rework, because that never looks good to anybody.
Any more questions for Mitch on this?
Make a motion to approve the Cooper Edition preliminary plan.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, motion carries. Send her on to the council. Next thing on the list.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Yeah. All in favor? We are adjourned. Maybe. He was, so it might have got
It
kicked
was
out.
great.
Next
Yeah.
meeting, next council meeting is gonna be
The ninth, I think,
ninth? Yeah.
May, the